Remember, we fight for what's right because it's time to go right.
Go right with Peter Boykin. They argue loud on a national stage, but the rent went up anyway. Quiet votes in a quiet room decide what tomorrow costs you. Evictions rise and taxes climb. This didn't happen overnight. You don't lose your future all at once. You lose it when you don't show up. It's not the noise, it's the neglect. That's how power disconnects. If we ignore local elections, we're choosing instability. Small decisions, big consequences. That's the reality. This is where the real issues live, where accountability begins. Go right with Peter Boykin. Let's talk about what actually wins. Go right with Peter Boykin.
If we ignore local elections, are we voting ourselves into instability? This is hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin Commentary. I'm Peter Boykin and I'm your host. You can check out this article and more on GoRightNews.com and GoRightNC.com. There's a hard truth nobody wants to say out loud. Most people are not being failed by politics, they are being failed by neglect of the closest layer of power to their lives. Evictions do not happen because of a speech in Washington. Property taxes do not rise because of a viral clip on social media. Rent does not jump because of a trending argument on cable news. Those pressures are shaped locally, quietly, through decisions most people never show up to vote on. When evictions rise to record labels, that is not noise. That is policy meeting reality. When housing costs climb faster than wages, that is not ideological. That is arithmetic. When families are one missed paycheck away from court, that is not culture war, that is instability taking root. And yet, many of the elections that determine these outcomes barely register on the public radar. It's all this ideological warfare, this, woke that, complaining about social conservatism or liberal, whatever you want to call it. People have their eye off the prize. See, in small town elections in places like Haw River can be decided by a few dozen votes. Town council seats, mayoral roles, local boards are often filled by default because turnout is so low. People assume those positions do not matter, and they assume the real power comes later. Why do you think everybody screams about, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump? Well, they forget all about their local. It's a scapegoat. But here is what actually happens. Those small offices become credentials. They became pathways. The person elected to a tiny fraction of voters today can later just be appointed or elected in a countrywide role that controls budgets, taxes, housing policy, courts, and services for everyone. That happened locally with a commissioner's seat filled by a mayor of Haw River, elected by little amount of votes, but now put in a much bigger role. Not saying if they did well or don't do well in it, it's just the fact that someone can go from a very small role to a much larger role without that many people voting on that individual. Now, meanwhile, the scale of influence explodes for that person, but the original mandate was microscopic. And that is how instability is built. not through malicious intent, but through disengagement. When voters skip elections, they surrender the most direct leverage they have over real-life outcomes. They allow leadership to be shaped without scrutiny. They allow priorities to drift away from affordability, stability, and accountability. And I know people go, I don't like to be involved in politics. I don't want anything to do with politics. I don't follow politics. But yet you kind of do, because every time you complain about the high prices of this and the high prices of that and the pothole in the road and the traffic pattern and the new thing that pops up, it's because you weren't involved. You really can't stay out of politics. So then people wake up and confused. They're like, why are taxes rising without clear expectations? Why are eviction filings accelerating? Why does it feel like nobody is listening? The answer is uncomfortable but simple. Too many people checked out when it mattered most. Effective leadership does not appear by accident. It is chosen early, locally, and deliberately. Leaders who understand that housing stability is public safety, that preventing eviction is cheaper than cleaning up homelessness, that transparency in taxes builds trust, and that budgets are moral documents whether politicians admit it or not. Ignoring those choices does not keep you neutral. It places you on autopilot while others steer the ship. The loudest voices online want you distracted. They want you arguing about symbols instead of systems, because systems require effort to understand. Systems require showing up to boring meetings. Systems require voting when the cameras are not rolling. If you want communities that are stable, affordable, livable, and safe, the path does not start with outrage. It starts with participation, especially in the elections that seem too small to matter. Because they matter. Your vote matters, people. Because those elections decide who eventually holds the power that affects everyone. Ignoring local elections is not harmless. It is how instability becomes normal. And I urge you folks, it's time to go right. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Please share. God bless.
Everybody's yelling at the top of their feet. Big headlines screaming what we're told to believe. But the rent went up on a quiet street, and the notice came down, not from D.C. Bills on the table, clock on the wall, court day letters in the mailbox full. They say it's politics, but that's not true. It's a checkbox left blank by me and you. We scroll past the places where the real line's been. Skip the votes that decide how the story ends. If we ignore local elections, are we voting ourselves into the fall? Small rooms, small choices, still decide it all. Too small to matter, that's what safety, stability last. Budgets are moral, whether they admit it or not. You don't drift into justice, you choose every spot. No cameras rolling, no viral sound, just showing up when no one's around. If we ignore local elections, we're handing over our lives, from rent to taxes, from courts to nights. It starts real small, then it multiplies. That's how neglect turns into collapse. If we want a future we can survive, we've gotta vote local and show up on time. Ignoring the small things is how the big things break. Local is where the future gets made.